for tuning into this interview on Project 402. I'm here with my realtor friend, Marty Hosking.
Hi.
He's with Keller Williams, and I'm excited to talk about kind of his journey, what led him here, and an insider's perspective on our city. He obviously works with people in some very vulnerable times and gets to see a lot of different parts of the city. And so it'll be cool to hear your perspective on kind of what led Omaha to its current point and where you think Omaha will be going in the future. So first off, Marty, tell everyone kind of about yourself and just give them a quick glimpse of your story and what led you to here right now today.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I certainly am only giving a fragment of a whole picture. It takes a lot of people, it takes a village, but I do have an opinion and perspective, and it kind of it's born out of my experience of having grown up here, then moved away and lived in a lot of different cities through my career and my background, and then moved back to Omaha by choice. And as I told the people in Washington, D.C., where I used to live, there's no moving back. A city's always growing, it's always changing with or without me. And I am too, as a person, as an individual. So my life, it just was another step forward for me in my life to come to Omaha, where I grew up. And I've been here about 5-6 years now. Okay. Back in Omaha.
And so what was the time away?
How
many years?
It was, I was in and out of Omaha. That had been a 7-year stint in Washington, D.C. Then I was here 5 years. And then prior to that, I was in Milwaukee, Boston, Massachusetts, South America, living down there and studying down there. So, and then I spent good amount of time in different cities, not quite living there, but working a lot in Los Angeles, Chicago, and stuff. So, man,
I'm really excited to then hear your perspective. So you've come back several times. Every time you came back, there's a new development or new probably road. What was the biggest, when you did come back, what was the biggest thing where that kind of caught your attention when moving back to Omaha in any one of those times?
Well, I think the big one, I think most people would agree, was everything that's been happening in Midtown. I felt like Midtown was moving along a lot faster than even downtown. Sure. Like downtown sort of seemed to stand still after the last river project that I think we can all agree was not a huge success.
Right.
So, but Midtown was sort of accelerating in a way that was kind of interesting to see how Mutual of Omaha was the catalyst, for sure, for that they took down my favorite dive bar from college, and they took down Kentucky Fried. It was
for the older viewers.
The Chicago Bar. It was called the Chicago Bar.
Is the Chicago Dog? That's still at Midtown Crossing, I think. Is that the same spot? Oh, that's gone
but it was right in there. Yeah,
okay,
it was right around that spot, right along that side, up from the Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Got it.
And then there, the people just sleeping in the park and things. It was not as attractive as it is now. And then that sculpture that's bolts, like big bolts, they're at Elmwood Park now. They're Memorial Park, south of Dodge. Those were there in Turner Park.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
see, I can't even. When did Midtown Crossing develop? Because I can't. This shows my age. I can't remember not having Midtown Crossing, but I know it must have been developed when I was alive. Still, or when I was.
So born. It was just a flyover area before. It was alternately seedy and then sort of business oriented, Mount Mutual of Omaha, and then a lot of parking lots.
Sure.
Then there was this park that I thought, oh, what a loss. It's sort of there but not developed, and it did have those sculptures in it.
Right.
So that's kind of what it was like before. It started like 2006 to 2009 is where you started to see it transforming with Mutual of Omaha.
I would have been 10 to 13.
Yes.
So before I could drive.
Yep.
So I was at the jurisdiction of my parents at that point, and they didn't go that way.
But knowing you were probably observing a lot of things even at that age, because you love all this stuff.
Well, I grew up in Exarban, and it's been very fascinating to see the changes, the demolition, and the reconstruction of the new Exarban area. Have you been to the Inner Rail yet?
Not yet. I've read everything about it.
It is so cool. It's a blast. I can't wait to see it open up. They have they have seating alongside like a bar. Not garage doors, but just like big windows.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be fantastic. Yeah, it's gonna be super fun in the summer.
Well, and that was the other area that I noticed a big change in.
Right,
Exarban Village. That was huge changes.
Sure.
And there were a couple of condo buildings that evolved came up to be downtown. right there right with the bubble, the real estate bubble, that everybody's getting on board with kind of trying new things. So you could see that going on downtown. So it was a nice little spark. I felt excited about like coming back, and then what could I contribute to the city? What could I bring that I've observed or learned and observed in other cities that we could do here? So
you mentioned condos. I feel like condos land in the same-ish realm as apartments. What are your thoughts on how many apartments are being constructed? You throw a rock, it's an overused expression, but you throw a rock in Omaha now and you hit a new apartment complex. And typically, ironically too, all those new apartments are always very upscale. And
yes.
I mean, I don't know nearly enough about the real estate market. That's why you're here, thank God. But to me, I just don't see that as economically sustainable to have all these new luxury, is what they're calling them, and they are, these luxury apartments, especially in some parts of town that people probably can't afford them.
So that's true.
Is that an issue that Omaha's facing? Is it just playing catch up because there weren't enough apartments before, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I completely agree with your sense that there's something going on there that we need to understand. Just quick tap into my background to understand where I come from on this.
Sure.
First of all, I was in missionary work and working in poor countries and with poor children and helping open schools and stuff. So I'm very interested in helping people who have less.
Right.
That's just always been a part of my life. My dad has always modeled that. My family has always modeled that. So that's always been sort of given for me. I often thought, how could I do real estate and still keep that alive? I found a way.
Good.
Keller Williams is very, very much about that. God, family, business is the order of our things.
Love it.
So I suppose if you're putting God first or your higher power first, you're going to be helping other people out before you help yourself. Or you'll see that by helping other people, you do help yourself.
Right. Not even bring religion into it. I mean, religion, the higher power thing. Religion, you can't argue, it teaches good morals. I mean, and good just human behavior. Whether or not you believe in the higher power part.
Exactly.
God, family. Then what was the third one? God,
business.
Family, business. I like that.
And it happens. And Keller really, really encourages that mindset. And if you don't have that mindset, you probably wouldn't want to be around the Keller Williams people, because it's a win-win idea when we do real estate. And unfortunately, that's not the reputation real estate has had. But we find ourselves living at a higher level and actually doing better with the win-win mentality. So
I see it. I see all the, you guys can't see it, but back in the background here, they have a bunch of stats on how Keller Williams has outbeat a lot of the other real estate companies.
Not in pure numbers in Omaha. In some cities we're bigger.
Sure.
But we are able to glean some sort of success from that, and to encourage people to trust that doing good can also result in benefiting you personally, your family, and then we like to think our whole legacy, like our children and their children's children. So want to help. Then part of that, it's helping the city. For me, it's helping the city. I don't have any children, but I still believe very much in helping the city. If I'm going to be making money in real estate, then I ought to be able to contribute and do that in a way that I can live with myself at night.
Of course.
And one of those things is the bigger issues. Keller, again, always encourages us to say, you can't be a jack of all trades. So you choose in your business what really motivates your heart and your mind and your vision for the future of whatever you're working on, and let that be what drives motivates you when you do your business. And for me, it is all of this stuff. It's building up the city in a way that is good for everybody.
I very much sense that. From the many conversations we have had, few or many, I guess.
Yes.
We haven't had too many, but you always are looking to help others. And so would you say that these apartment complexes are, am I correct to say, aren't doing that for the city? You think that they're kind of helping only a select few?
Well, yes. Well, and then we've talked about this. I think that we just need to be really careful. I think Omaha's in a position where we can still make decisions that are not, they're not irreversible. And that is, what kind of communities do we want? Do we want all apartments where there's no equity stake in the neighborhood except for like 3 people that own the buildings? Or do we want to increase the equity stake? One of the advantages of the apartments, so there's always a a bright side to the stuff that's going on, but then there's always a caveat.
Sure.
So like right now, what the bright side is, the developers are creating more density in areas.
True.
Now,
Which is very important.
Blackstone's a good example. There's enough density there that they can support restaurants and things because people can get to them and people have the income to support them.
Right.
And there's enough people with those attributes. So, it's always a blessing and a curse. So like, that's the good side of it. I've been talking to developers. Well, I've talked to two and I've asked them, why are you doing all apartments? You used to do condos or something like that.
Why are you doing this?
And they said, basically, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay.
We had to change our formula with the recession. We did condos and some people got burned. Some developers got burned with that. Others made it out just in time. Nobody ran away with it and had an awesome experience with it. Every developer will tell you, wow, they were lucky they got through that.
In terms of just condos or apartments?
Just condos.
Just condos,
because,
okay.
you have to sell those
Right.
to get your money back. And so if they don't all sell, then you're like, you're kind of in between. Should I just convert them back to, no, but I've already sold these. I can't convert them back to apartments.
Right.
So it's like you're stuck in this thing and you have to play it out to the end. Because you can't just go rent the ones that didn't sell, because then that would create probably a lawsuit by the ones who bought and didn't want to have a rental community. So anyway, so I think that they, out of fear, to some degree, and out of the fact that there was a need for apartments, they just keep the machinery going. Unfortunately, or fortunately, there's people like you and me who are like thinking, okay, we need to think bigger than that.
Right.
We need to think, where's this going? When can we get an equity stake in the neighborhood? One of my favorite people in the city is Nancy Mammal, and she was
know her.
Nancy Mammal. She is a huge philanthropist in the city, and she built the building CO2 on South 10th Street. It's an apartment building, very super ultra modern, right across from the Grace campus.
Yeah.
Okay, so it had a coffee shop in the main level.
Right.
So she really feels that she saw too many apartments going up. Like, she felt like there needs to be more of a shared equity stake in these areas. And of course, there's all sorts of benefits you can imagine if I own in an area rather than if I rent.
Right.
And
Obviously.
so she actually has converted that building to condominiums, and she's selling them right
Is that
now.
the one with edgy colors, like
Yes.
lime green and
Yes.
dark blue? Okay, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking
And
about.
it's, I think, the only residential LEED certified building in the city for
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but not to get off track, one of the things you raised is that what about how are we going to get different income levels in the city? How is it? Because it can, like you said, a lot of the apartments, they're expensive. Like Midtown, as I said, that was a catalyst for change.
Right.
However, the apartments there, they had some apartments and then some condos, and all of them were geared at
Very upscale.
above what we call affordable level. So, and when we say affordable, I think we're talking about incomes of not poor people, but people who have sort of
like 60, 70,
starting level professional incomes.
Sure.
Yeah. And so that is a fair question, and it is a concern, and I don't see too many people addressing it. So I'm trying to address it. I feel like the calling is for me, and it's just like a spark in my mind even in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
I think I need to see what I can do to contribute in this area before areas get totally, the prices get so high that we're not a diverse, broad-based community anymore.
Right. And that's one of the things people love about Omaha.
Yeah.
Is that we are very diverse. Races, ethnicities, just so many different. We're an eclectic group. Omaha really is.
Yes.
That's actually, I think, the root cause of, or the root problem with Midtown Crossing as a whole. They kind of made it seem like, you said it was purchased and developed by Mutual of Omaha. I say for Mutual of Omaha executives. Because everything there was super upscale, even the restaurants. If you're making like a city hub, and this is something that I think Blackstone actually does really well with, you have to make it not just a place to live, but also a destination. Omaha loves district. We throw the word district on everything. Here's a new
like
power, not Power and Light, but here's Capital District, Blackstone District, District, Flatiron District is coming up now too. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Yes. Yes. I mean, that we were talking about with regard to the juvenile jail.
Oh, correct. Yeah, just before this. But I don't know. I think Midtown Crossing did it wrong in that. No, of course, who am I to say
That's
this?
your opinion.
But there's a lot of restaurants that I've seen after I did pay attention after I was more than 13 years old that kind of just come and gone at Midtown Crossing because it's very high end, it's very upscale. It's not. They needed more of the Chicago dog houses, and they needed more just like. I want to say dive bars because that doesn't fit the whole environment, but more like maybe like a sports bar or two. Like just more of a casual, all-inclusive space. It felt like, oh, I can't really go into Midtown Crossing because I can't afford a night out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I definitely can't afford to live there because, like you said, when they did have apartments, I think they actually transitioned them all to condos now. At the time of this video, I could be wrong, but
they had a whole building that they went back to condos.
Yeah. But the apartments, when they did have them, were super expensive.
Yeah, they weren't.
All the condos, the
Affordable.
cheapest one was like $200,000 for one bedroom, and that's not. It's very expensive for Omaha. If we're talking about Chicago or maybe a Denver, reasonable. Yeah. But for Omaha, I don't think that's something that you can kind of get away with for being like a central hub.
Yes. Yeah, I think everything you said is correct, and I do notice it is interesting to notice, and the viewers should ask themselves: if you went to Midtown Crossing on a regular night, pair of jeans, you just want to do something simple and not too expensive, where would you go?
Right.
And I think for me, if you ask me that question, I would go to there's Wings there.
Ray's or no?
It's right there on the corner. Then I might go to a Bubble Tea. So Thirst Tea. They have a branch one.
Right.
Their main one's down there. The branch is out by me out 72nd Street.
Okay.
So that's affordable to get a tea, and they have some nice little Asian snacks.
Right.
That's affordable. But you're right. There's only a couple examples of where you could really just sort of. They took the scooters away. That was kind of fun. Not that affordable actually, but they were fun.
Yeah.
You're right about that, and the affordability there is one thing I'm excited about. Is the Twin Towers building that I own a condominium there, and I am very involved in that building. It's 3000 Farnham Street, so it's 30th and Farnham. As one developer told me, it's one block east of Midtown Crossing, which is like a mile in suburban development. So it's I try to get a scooters there, and they're like, no, it's one block too far east.
Interesting.
But it won't be for long. But right now it is, and so it's very affordable.
Sure.
I'm selling condominiums there. I sold a young man who is an emergency room nurse. He bought his first home for $79,000.
Wait, is that the one where Werner is on the ground
Werner.
floor? Okay.
Werner, yes.
I love that building.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
It's on the historic register, so that when I first came back to Omaha, that's where I first went. I made a beeline there. This is so cool. There are a lot of buildings like that in D.C. from the 60s that are condos, and I got familiar with them there. And this one has all the same characteristics, both good and bad, because it's an older building, but it's fun. People are really having a lot of fun fixing it up.
For sure. I actually went to a Christmas party there on the penthouse, the top floor.
Okay, then you know.
The architect, he's an architect, I forget, or structural engineer or something.
Eric Wolf.
Yeah.
Yes, he's president of the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. But yeah, gorgeous place.
And I was privileged to sell him that condo too.
Did you really?
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
The owner approached me and said, we kind of want to keep this kind of quiet. We don't want a big deal out of it. We do want to sell it. And I'm like, are you kidding? I felt like I died and went to heaven. The penthouse on the top of this.
It is the coolest place. 360-degree views.
Yes.
And it has like a little trap door, probably sharing too much of this guy's house. Right. It has a little stairway that goes all the way down, like an emergency exit type deal.
It's got all these little cool things. It's like James Bond.
It is.
Think about it. It's 1960s James Bond movie. It's got curved walnut walls and the balcony and terrace all the way around it. Yeah. Every room has a sliding glass door out to a terrace. There's just cool things that come down from the wall and then has like a sink in it and like just
something magnificent.
It is. Yeah.
Someone actually told me. I'm glad this conversation led to this because I wanted to hear it from someone who would probably know. Are there apartments at the top of Woodman Tower or First National or condos?
No,
there aren't.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would know about them. Believe me, because we're short of condos right now. We need more condos, and that was the follow up to what we've just been saying earlier. is that the builders essentially, they said, well, we're building apartments, we're not building condos. So we really haven't had new condominium apartments. We haven't had any built
Right.
since
There's not that many.
2006.
There's really not. Only there's like a couple handfuls.
And
the ones that are super expensive.
Yeah, there's super expensive ones, and there is some movement in the condo market, but the condo market reflects the general market, and that before the recession, people were moving about every 5 years. After the recession, every 10.
Interesting.
So the turnover is
Wow.
not as quick. It's going to be quicker with condos because of people's lifestyles
Of course.
than single family homes.
Yeah.
But still, a lot of people are selling their single family homes. And there's two generations that are doing a lot, the millennials and their parents. So they're finding themselves again together. They're selling the big house, moving down to a more urban, walkable community.
Right.
And then your baby boomers, they're staying. I mean, they're buying, this is their last, and for many of them, they consider it their last purchase. And then they travel the world and they have a different lifestyle. So
there is one condo building downtown. I think no, it's not Westbrook. Is it? It's a senior. You have to be over 55 or 65. And it's a condo building or apartment building downtown.
And is that the one in near Dundee?
No, it's actually in downtown. It's right. It's a blue building. It's right on. I want to say Farnham. But yeah, so I think that was interesting that there's only one. But I think it's good that there is one.
Yeah. There are options, but there are very few options.
Right.
And I'm always encouraging more. And that's where, again, the Twin Towers is our kind of a last island of affordability in an area it could become unaffordable. Even that new apartment building, the Spaces that's up against the freeway there.
Oh, yeah.
Great building, fantastic concept. Chris Christensen did a fantastic job with that.
Sure.
He's a developer who developed condos and townhouses that were for sale.
It's a gorgeous building. I like their courtyard.
Yeah.
It's a cool place. But again, it's apartments though.
It is and they're expensive. So, and again, everybody should have something that they like at their price point.
Definitely.
I just think that everybody should have something they like at their price point and not just at a high price point.
Right.
Now, my frustration or fear is that as we begin to fix up the Twin Towers, we do know that the values did go up. So they are going up. That's good for the people who had been there a long time ago, who are on fixed incomes. Fantastic, they can sell and have a lot of equity. But how do we keep that area from going through the ceiling?
Can you take a HELOC out on a condo?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay,
it's real estate.
okay,
I mean,
that's what I thought.
ask a lender. I'm not.
Sure.
Ask your local lender.
Asterisk, forward.
Yeah, right. But I mean, typically, it's real estate. So anything that you could do with a single family house, you could do with a condo.
Okay.
So in fact, I did on my condo.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, because I wanted to have cash to invest in. So
you touched on something here. You said recession. Do you think maybe call it what it is, the great economic times we've had in the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years since 08, 09 is attributing to this higher cost of living? Or do you think, from what I've heard, Omaha was kind of not as deeply impacted by that bubble, by the latest recession. So what are your thoughts on that? Is it attributed, or is Omaha just unique in that we can always sustain this high luxury apartment living? Because people my age are coming right out of college and are not settling for anything other than granite countertops, stainless steel appliances.
People like nice things.
People do like nice things, but is that just because of good economic times? Because they can get a good job pretty easily?
Well, I mean,
what are your thoughts on that?
Clothing's cheap in the United States, so I guess I'm dressing better than I ever have because I don't like to spend a lot of sales and things. So maybe in one sense, just part of the American experience is that we're used to having nice things at a really reasonable price, and I'm wondering if that isn't a part of our upbringing. Can be that we expect that. Okay. But I do think. The Omaha has never had the swings, the high highs and the low lows like the coast. Right. I saw in Washington D.C. how low things could go, and in the suburbs there, were pretty devastated. Not as bad as other areas, but Omaha kind of managed to stay more middle of the road. But yeah, I don't know what you guys think about this, but I think. Unfortunately, humans are going to be humans. I don't know if we really learned all of us learned a deep lesson about the recession. Probably I think it's almost like we're just going to pick up where we left off. it's like, don't you see this? We don't want to do that again.
Right.
But so that's, I feel like some of us have to be more of a conscience for our city and ask these hard questions as you are.
Like that. A conscience for our city.
Well, and for our leadership. Somebody said this really, I went to a smart growth conference out in Washington, D.C. because I really wanted to know. And it was all like developers. I was not a developer at all. I'm just sort of sitting in there like, what do you do? I sell real estate. But I'll sell your development. But what they were one of the a mayor of, I think it was Cleveland, who talked about development there and how that worked and getting that urban development. And he said, just keep in mind that it's your responsibility to inform your leadership. So if you just complain about your leadership, then that's bad on you, on us. We have the responsibility of informing them.
True.
If they don't want to listen, that's another story, but we actually have to step up and
it's like politics. Like
exactly.
You have to, if you have an issue with the potholes, call the mayor's hotline and say, hey, here's this pothole. And
be heard.
Or whatever.
Be heard. Exercise it. Don't just complain that it's not done.
Yes, I cannot stand that.
Well, and I've done it for some. Occasionally, I would do it, but it's like we really do have to step up to the microphone, even at forums, and when they want to hear from the public, this is our chance to be heard and to inform them of. And he said another thing was really interesting too. He says, don't expect elected officials to put themselves behind a risky project that could fail, and therefore they would lose their political position. Yeah. So you're gonna have to feed them good stuff, half-baked, whatever, that they can take on, or at least support slightly, and let some private folks kind of bring that in, and then they'll get behind it, sort of thing. It's kind of a dialectic that you have to kind of, a dance. Sure. You have to do with them.
Are there any sort of like avenues for developers I'm sure like Jay Noddle and Matt Dwyer, Jay Lund? Yeah. Do they meet regularly with city officials, or like Stephen Osberg with the Department of Transportation at the Omaha Chamber? I feel like monumental things could happen from getting the developers alongside the politicians and the people in the chamber in our city.
I agree, and I'm
sure they do. I would hope they do, at least. I won't say I'm sure. I hope they do.
Maybe informally. I think again, I'm just getting to know Omaha in a way that I never knew Omaha, because when you leave, you come back, then you take it to a deeper level. Right. And so my dad was a developer here in Omaha when I was growing up, and I never noticed that there was any formal meetings with developers. One thing I did notice about Portland, the Pearl District is a great example, the downtown Portland and Pearl District. It's a great place to study. In fact, groups of Omahans have gone out there to study what they've done. And what we've been able to determine is that the difference between Omaha and there is that there, they had a master plan for how that was going to develop in that area, and they stuck to it. You couldn't vary from it, so that I, as a developer, knew that if I build an apartment building here, I knew that there would be a pizza joint or something right next door. I knew that that would be the only thing that would be allowed there. Got it. So that I would be willing to take more of a risk there. In Omaha, I could be wrong, but I don't see anything that strong that would guarantee that a developer isn't going to stick his neck out and then get burned. So that, I think, we are lacking. And that we need, and maybe that's what thing we can speak up about. Sure. Not just criticize the developers who just do their own thing, but understand that it's about leadership and having the courage to lead the developers in a way that gives them the comfort that they're going to know that they can contribute in a way that they won't just get burned.
There needs to be much more deep conversations across the board, I think.
I totally agree. Having been on the Restoration Exchange Board, I can also see that there's some reluctance and fear about coming down too hard on that, because then you might offend developers who might feel that you are restraining their willingness to invest. How does that dance work? Because, as you said just in the introduction, what is Omaha? Who is Omaha? Yeah. Who are we? And we're our history, for one, and historical location and place is everything. If we tear down the things that remind us of the place that we were 100 years ago, what are we creating? What do we have now? So,
what do you think Omaha's, I guess, quote, identity is, or identity crisis maybe is? Do you think there's? I'll just leave it open-ended like that. What do you think Omaha's identity is?
Well, when I was leaving to come back to Omaha from Washington D.C., one lady was saying, "Well, where are you going, or where are you moving to?" I go,
Sure.
"I'm moving to Omaha," and she rolled her eyes and she got this deep sigh. Oh my gosh! And I told her, I said, "I'm just don't get me wrong, I'm not offended at all.
Yeah.
Like, because I know where I'm going and I'm fine with that. So, but I'm just curious, like, what went through your mind when I said that?" And she
Fair
said,
question.
"There's nothing there." And I thought, okay, that's very interesting. You know, I think that is, I have noticed though that with the level of education and worldly experience, the appreciation for Omaha is higher, and the recognition of Omaha, which is very interesting. It's people who don't travel a lot, people who don't have a lot of education, tend to be more oh, what's that?
Right.
The more education that people have, it's interesting. They're more aware of Omaha than others, and I think that's
over and over. We keep popping up on like top 10 cities to raise a family, or top whatever, like best GDP, or cheapest housing in the country.
Right.
We're on more and more of these lists.
Yeah,
I think that exposure is good.
I agree.
But personally, I think Omaha kind of lacks some sort of not full identity. I guess I would say culture or identity. But I just look back to my time in Chicago when. If you ask someone who lives in Chicago, you know, where do you live or where are you from? And they don't just say Chicago.
Right.
Or if they do, then they say a follow-up thing after that. And I think Omaha needs that follow-up thing. And that follow-up thing is their neighborhood or their little hub within the city. In Omaha, unfortunately, you ask someone where they live, like what part of town, and they'll say Millard, which is a huge, ginormous area and suburb, or Elkhorn. Or even worse, this is a pet peeve, they'll say, "I live at 144th and Maple." It's like, no, those are two cross streets. Like, what's your neighborhood? What defines you? Because whether or not people
that's a good point.
agree with it, stereotypes are around, and they're around for a reason. You know, someone that lives in Benson stereotypically has a much different vibe to them and much different demographic than someone that lives in Blackstone. And I think Benson maybe a little bit more hipsterish, younger crowd. Maybe like smoking cigars and has a man bun. That's a very generic stereotype, but just more of an artsy individual who expresses themselves more. Blackstone, you're beginning to think more and more of the younger professional med students, especially that work at UNMC, or just kind of more modern people looking they like the old feel, the brick buildings, the revitalized buildings that Green Slate has done. And so I wish that there was more. We made fun of them earlier, but I wish there were more districts or more neighborhoods in Omaha, because we are kind of lacking in identity, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. And was sort of the neat thing about Omaha, though, is that we are really in a good position to be able to develop those districts.
We are.
Yep. And some people might already know, and you probably already know this, but those are developing out of we call them nodules of the original streetcars that ran in Omaha. So
I didn't realize that.
Those were where you change streetcars, those areas. So
interesting.
Leavenworth and Saddle Creek.
Right.
That was an old business district, but hasn't kind of sort of limps along there with Broncos and La Casa and okay, but
as long as La Casa stays, I love La Casa
and Broncos too, like the Bronco burgers. Cannot take that away.
Staple of Omaha.
Oh my gosh, and that's, I guess, what's funny is there are things that really define Omaha.
There are.
Those are some of the examples.
It's the small businesses, actually, and that's actually the reason why I started Project 402. As Omaha continues to grow, I don't want the chain companies or the big box stores to come in and totally thwart out all the little guys.
Yes.
Because when I started this, kind of the straw that broke the camel's back was some of my friends at the time hadn't heard of Ted and Molly's ice cream or La Casa Pizza or Dinkers or Petros.
Only Pizza Hut.
Poor Petros.
Cold Stone Creamery.
Right. And a lot of that was because they lived out in suburbia, out in their 1.5-mile, 2-mile radius. And didn't ever come to, I guess you can call it the historic parts of the city, east of 72nd.
I know, right? I live right at 72nd.
You do live right on the cusp.
Actually, I'm just about 100 feet west of 72nd.
Right.
But I wanted to be in that area near Crossroads, and that's been kind of my dream. And hopefully, Lockwood Development, if you're watching this, my dream is that we actually let Crossroads be where we replicate actually some of those very mom and pop places. We actually create a second one in the city right there, or maybe they might feel like they relocate there. But the point is that let's make sure that that doesn't become just a sterile franchise situation.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Right now it's sterile, not because there's franchises, but because there's nothing.
Yeah.
And that's talking about the districts. That's something that I wish a new district would appear, because I don't know if this is true, but by definition, 72nd and Dodge, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is the busiest intersection in Omaha.
You're right.
So why?
It's second now. They just did the numbers. 90th and Dodge actually
90th and Dodge? Okay.
Actually busier, but yes, it's very busy.
But why has nothing been done there? There's been plan after plan, apparently been shot down or then scrapped to fix something else. What would, this is something that we both said we needed to talk about going forward in this interview. What would you do for Crossroads? What you started touching on it, what specific businesses maybe would relocate, or what hands-on businesses could make it a walkable area for people?
Right.
What would Marty Hosking, Keller Williams realtor do for potentially the biggest next thing in Omaha?
I would love to. You know, I mean, even 15 years ago, I literally had nothing to do one day, and I drew up what I thought Crossroads should be.
Did you really?
Yes.
You still have that?
I'm looking for it in all my notes.
Okay.
Like I had a dream for it, and even then, I think certainly Sears was still operating, and I think even Victoria's Secret and Gap were still functioning there too.
Sure.
But no, this is a great topic right now after what we just talked about, because it's like, okay, so here's an opportunity to do something as a city. What do we want to do? It's sort of a blank slate.
It is.
Where are we going to go? This will tell you everything about what matters to us as a city, I think.
It's kind of defining.
It's a defining moment. It's a defining moment. And even the fact
Scary
that it hasn't been developed. Yeah, it is scary because, well, and I try not to feel like I can control everything in the world. I've learned to accept that. Some developers are going to do things I don't agree with. People are going to do things I don't have any control over. But in this case, I don't know how much control we really have. But if I had control of it, I would suggest that we do a kind of retail that is more experience-based retail, that recognizes the importance of the internet. So maybe it's a smaller store where you can try, touch, and everything, and then you can order it online. I think we're going to need to be smart about the retail. I was talking to Frank Kretschy, who's the owner of Crossroads, who was that guy who really just went out and bought it. And I think he paid $9 million for it.
What?
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
That was, I don't remember the year, but we're going on over 10 years.
For only $9 million?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a steal.
It was a bargain. $9 million, no problem.
Well, for him, I'm sure.
So for him, it was a bargain. I mean, I don't want to assume anything, but I think he's able to take that risk.
Right.
And so we went out and talked to him. He's got an office out in Elkhorn.
Okay.
Just sat down with him and talked to him about it, and he said, I'm glad it didn't work out because the retail that we had planned would not have been a good thing for as things have developed.
Interesting.
So he said that he was open to what could be done there. And then I've heard recently that Lockwood Development, the same group that did Sterling Ridge, is going to be developing it.
Cool.
So
Sterling Ridge is a beautiful place, by the way.
It's very unique. I think they use some creativity there, and which is good. So I'm hoping that they'll also be open to some creative ideas there. But like I said, my dream for there would be exactly the stuff we just talked about.
Sure.
That there be affordable housing mixed in with there.
Right.
And that there'll be condos, not just apartments.
Actual purchase.
And then of different values, of different levels, so that different people can buy. That there'll be shopping, but that it be tuned to the internet, like it'd be smart shopping, And
so you keep saying like tuned to the internet and like hands-on things. So something maybe like a second Apple store.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that was originally because I'm so curious, I went out and met one of the developer. Like Kretschy was the owner, but Yates was sort of going to be the developer on that project. So I went out and met him.
Got it.
And he told me that he
How'd
had
you
already.
meet these guys?
You just knock on their door; they're there. No, he brought out a whole display about a three-dimensional thing about what it was going to look like.
That is cool.
Heck yeah! Huh. So I took a picture of it. In fact, but one of the things that he was very confident about, that he'd established a good relationship with Apple, that they had wanted to develop a flagship store there, like the big ones.
I was going to say the flagship.
Something more like the one that's there, the new one at Village Point, but maybe even bigger.
Right. Because we only have one. That's really ridiculous for Omaha's population. Because I don't think Lincoln has one, if I'm not mistaken.
No. My gut feeling about that was that the reason it took so long to get a bigger one out in Village Point, I was, in my heart, I felt that it's because Apple was holding out to do a flagship, and then when that didn't work at Crossroads, then they said, okay, then we're gonna have to do something, and we'll just do it where we can. That's my personal opinion about that.
I think that's logical. That makes sense.
Yeah. The other thing that was in the works that was going to be the very first thing that started building out there at Crossroads was REI. So if you've ever heard of REI.
Yeah, remind me what they do.
It's outdoor equipment, camping, sports equipment, and it's a cooperative, so it's owned by, everybody's a member. If you shop there, you become a member of it, and you actually get dividends.
Sure.
So it's a huge store, but it's really, really cool.
How does it differ, for those like myself that don't know what REI is, how does it differ than a Shields or a Dick's Sporting Goods?
I don't know define the slight difference, but it is way more experiential in orientation. It's an experience.
Got it.
And I think it's just bigger and actually more geared towards outdoor, not so much not sports.
I got it, yes.
So it's more towards outdoor activities.
Okay.
So, and I did talk to Frank Kretschy before he had discontinued the first effort on it. And I saw him out in the street, and I just said, Mr. Kretschy,
like, I have to stop you.
I'm sorry. He's like, what? And I go, just one quick question. What's going to be the first business that you have kind of lined up? And I remember at that moment, he told me REI. And I knew what REI was, and that's a huge step for Omaha.
Sure.
I think different types of retail is going to be important to put there. Maybe even some very high-end retail, too. It's okay. But make sure that we have experiential retail too, where people can go there for an experience. I just wish I could control it. That it's like I
think we all do.
I mean,
At
it's
least
like
I do.
I mean, and I'm grateful for the developers who are willing to step up and do something.
Sure.
I think the next step for me really is to reach out to Lockwood and say, I've been around. I've done a lot of things. Would you listen to a citizen who has a lot of thoughts about this that could be helpful. You have good insight and you actually care. And if you care, that does touch people's hearts. If they see that you care, they usually want to hear from you. Especially in Omaha. I think so. And they are local people. They are absolutely local. Okay. They're what other stores, so is your vision to just keep it all Crossroads all retail then? Or would you like to see maybe bars, restaurants go in, more like a district like Exarban or Blackstone? Yeah, we need to develop. I mean, what I learned from being in Washington D.C. and what I learned from the recession is that they gravitate toward villages. It's how we're made up as human beings. We want a central sense of who we are and where we can go to be with other people. Sure. That used to be the enclosed malls, and that has waned. Right. Now what is it? And I don't know. Coffee shops. I feel coffee shops. I agree. I think that Exarban has created a little bit of that. It has. Hangoutness. So where it'd have to include something like that, where people can feel that that's a sort of like a village center. Sure. To create a village, like I said, a district in that area. Because you think about it, there's nothing that really holds 72nd and Dodge together. It's disparate. It's a hodgepodge of different things. Bowling alley over here. So wouldn't it be fun? Dew Space. I do like Dew Space. Dew Space, again, but it's an island. It is. So what can we do to bring all that together in such a way that it's more of a village orientation, where people live, work, and play there? Right. We can do this. It's a blank slate. And at the same time, I really want to give a nod to Omaha, what Omaha is and Omaha's history. I never want to just wipe something out like Mutual of Omaha did and then just create a sterile blank slate like that and just... I think it's important to work with what we have. So my dream would be to uncover part of the original building there. I don't know if you ever saw a picture of the original Crossroads building. I remember you telling me about this. It has a butterfly roof. It's a great mid-century modern lines on it that were really, really cool. Maybe you could bring some of that back and then build on top of it. So you were saying that the current Crossroads is already built on top of another Yes, it was not torn down. Interesting. Yeah, it was not torn down. I suppose it possibly the Brandeis on the east end was maybe torn down or dismantled for the Target. But from Target West, that is still, the original mall is still there. Weird. Yeah. That's really bizarre. So wouldn't it be fun to play with that a little bit in the mid-century style? Again, with the idea that Omaha, we deserve a sense of space, a place, excuse me. We deserve a sense of place, who we are as Omaha. Wouldn't it be fun to make that a place where we can have a neon sign that has La Casa's Pizza right there, or maybe someone could bring back the Italian steakhouse. We lost.
Sure.
There was one couple
venison.
of them.
All the Caniglias. You mean?
Yeah,
all
and
their restaurants.
again with a P, down on South 13th. No, South 10th Street. Darn it.
Oh, wait, we lost that?
Yeah. It was you may not even have known about it, but there was so many. That's the thing. There were so many of them. But it was my grandfather's favorite place, and I can't remember the name of it. But
in the Little Bohemia?
Not quite there, but
okay, yeah, because that one's still there.
Sort of like around Martha and 17th, right down in there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, but to bring something like that back there would be a lot of fun to do.
It would be cool.
It'd be a sense of place, what Omaha is.
Yeah.
So
I like that perspective. It is kind of a blank slate. We can, name it Crossroads Crossing or whatever, or we could
Crossroads Village.
Yeah, a nod to just something historic in Omaha.
Yeah.
I do like that about Blackstone. Is that they renamed that district after the Blackstone Hotel,
right?
Which now they can't call it that because of some stupid hotel in Chicago, apparently, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I think it would be cool to see kind of a nod to Omaha's past.
And that would be tricky because if you think about it, the places where we're getting that past back, or we're not destroying it altogether, like Blackstone, like Benson, like Dundee, those were the old. That's old Omaha.
It is.
Crossroads really was new
Crossroads
Omaha.
was
That's
the suburb
1960.
of Omaha.
Yeah,
Right.
that was this big, exciting new suburban thing. Wouldn't it be fun to just rein us in just a little bit and see if we can understand? I've always understood mid-century as adding some value to who we are as Americans, or just the sense of design, that freedom and spirit about, the new frontier and all that. How can we focus on that? Maybe celebrate that a little bit there with the style that we use and the stuff that we build there, and create a village center there. Kind of sort of reining in the sprawl of Omaha, saying, okay, this is going to be our line. Now you come in here.
This is the dividing line.
This is it. This is it. You come down here. And so it would be fun to create a situation where people begin to look at Omaha differently and say, wow, my own city, I like to go to Crossroads. I like to go down in there. I like what's developing there. And with the bus rapid transit orbit.
I'm super excited for that.
I just hop on, I'll park my car at Westroads and I'll just ride it right down there. So I think there's a great opportunity. I even had a crazy idea of bringing, do you know
I
that?
like crazy. Let's hear it.
Drive-in, there used to be a drive-in there.
Oh, you did tell me this, yeah.
So wouldn't it be fun to kind of do this drive-in thing? Make it not quite as big maybe, but and then have the cars there already, like from that era.
Yeah.
They're all they're stationary. But they're all they're like beautiful restored models of those cars. They're like
the old
like a car collection, right? That you can enjoy the car collection and also sit in them to watch the movies.
That would be super cool.
You have to watch your
Hollywood Candy has some old cars. Yeah, like that kind of feel, like a vintage.
But I understand when developers will come and tell us, well, but you have to understand, we have to have a profit margin. We have to watch costs and stuff. I get that. But let's see what we can do together and dream so that it's not just wiped out as a sterile,
do you think,
strip mall.
Exactly,
like
it definitely can't be another strip mall. Do you think that TIF money, this kind of brings in politics a little, I guess. Do you think that they could use TIF, Frank Kretschy?
Yeah, they're willing.
Could use TIF money?
Yeah.
The city would allow that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the city, people will blame the fact that it didn't work out this last time because the city turned down the TIF money that was requested.
Interesting.
But I think there's more to that story. I think in defense of the city, I don't think it was presented properly. And the developer that was working with Yates, probably there was something, he didn't do well there. I don't know what it was, but there's something he didn't do well.
Yeah.
I think any mayor wants everybody to be happy.
I agree.
So the mayor doesn't want to be known as someone who's saying no to things.
Right.
But I think particularly,
the mayor has a tough job.
She does. She has a really tough job, and particularly when you have so much pressure for suburban growth. That's been Omaha's thing for many years, and that's where the political power is. So particularly when she's got people on her back saying, you can't do for them what you haven't done for us. You can't give them some. So they're watching. So she's kind of hinting at us, get this thing right, so
Right.
I have a justification for giving this to you. But if you give it to me crappy, I can't do it because people are going to be on my back for not doing it right. So I think it's going to be a matter of presenting it correctly so that the mayor, whoever that is, can really justify what he or she is going to be allowing in the city. And it's not just the mayor's decision. There was a vote, but it's really depends on if the mayor is behind it and how the mayor is behind it. I think will make such a difference for the city. So yeah, I don't blame it all on the mayor. I don't blame it all on the citizens for just rejecting it. I think it probably wasn't presented as properly as it should be. But definitely TIF money's there. It's being utilized all the time. And this would be a perfect example.
The Centerline apartments got TIF money, and that I would not have thought would have been considered a blighted part of town.
Where was that?
It's right off the 72nd exit on I-80.
Oh yes, the Centerline. Yes. Oh yeah. Right.
And now they're saying that the Shark Club might get it as well. The old Shark Club right on the 72nd and Center.
No, that is blighted. There, that's pretty rough there. The Shark
Club.
Club.
Just across the street though.
I know, but that's a rough little corner there.
Yeah, just because of the line of business. I think before. Yeah, it was just, like an old bar, old hotel.
Yeah, it's not very nice. But I think that we need to be think big and what possibilities that TIF, also opportunity zones. I don't know if you've heard of opportunity zones, but that is thanks to the Trump administration. That is a way of building up underdeveloped areas and to do that in a way that encourages development.
Okay.
And so that's maybe another.
Is that the federal
yes,
TIF
federal
thing
money
that North Omaha just got not too long ago?
No, that was something different.
Okay.
This is
that was like a federal grant.
Yeah,
I remember hearing.
It was a grant.
Okay.
No, this is Opportunity Zone OZs they call them, and I'm not totally versed in them, but what I do basically understand is that those are they allow the governors or the states to designate which areas in their state should be opportunity zones. So the federal government does not determine that. The state does.
Sure.
But the federal government then provides, basically, I could start an opportunity zone account, collect money for development from people.
Oh,
and
cool.
then with that money that I develop, if I develop something.
Kind of like crowdfunding development.
And there's huge tax relief on that. So,
right.
and on the dividends that pay, you don't have to pay taxes on it and stuff like that.
Huh.
So I have to learn more about that, but.
That could be huge.
It could be very huge, and that's my next topic for my own personal investigation. Yeah.
Do you think? I was just thinking about this as you were talking. Do you think it's not called West Farm anymore, Hartwood Preserve?
Yes.
The new 192nd and Dodge.
Yes.
The finishing up of Capitol District, the new Flatiron District. Do you think any of these will hold up Crossroads even further? Maybe the city would say, whoa, we have all these huge developments in progress, or also the new Papillion landing space. Do you think that these other huge developments maybe have been attributing to the delay of Crossroads, or do you think there's too much separate money? Or
it could be. I think that's a good question. What I'm more concerned about is do we have an organized plan as to what we're choosing to work on, what we're allowing to work on, and what we're giving TIF money to, or is it just random?
Sure.
And I have to say, my opinion is it's kind of random right now. Like, Capitol District's great, but it's an island. It's not connected to anything. And even the new building going up, there are no people who have committed to leasing that space. No, it's totally speculative.
Interesting.
It is very interesting.
I think people should be more concerned about whether or not Omaha's population can sustain this many huge developments.
Well, I agree.
Because obviously their goal is the chicken and the egg, right? I don't know anything about economics or our city development, so I may be way off. But from what my observations and my knowledge has led me to is that we're trying to build all these developments so that we can attract more people and our city becomes more appealing to maybe those from KC, St. Louis, Denver, Chicago, Milwaukee. But, should we be doing those now or should we maybe have anchor tenants like big businesses kind of committing to coming here first? Because it seems like these huge developments and something that could go along with Crossroads with all these new apartments and hopefully condos is it takes a lot of people. But on the flip side, you always hear every day, brain drain. There's so many people leaving Omaha. Well, it's like, why are we building all these new apartments and all this new housing if we're apparently losing a lot of people?
Yeah,
so it seems just kind of counterintuitive, and I hope that, all these new amazing, gorgeous developments, Sterling Ridge, these things won't become, of course that's more office, but I hope these places won't just become blighted or desolate again in a decade or so, because the population's not there, because it just gets so unaffordable.
Right, and it is the chicken and the egg conversation, but I think it's possible that good planning could answer a lot of these.
Good planning. What was the district in Oregon you said that?
Pearl District.
See, that to me sounds amazing, because my we agree on this, biggest problem with downtown Omaha is that you can't even walk everywhere you need to, living in the epicenter of our city, because there's no grocery store in downtown Omaha.
Right.
So even if you live in Omaha, downtown, in the heart of the city, you still need a vehicle.
Yeah.
And if we're trying to attract, and retain younger people, the millennials, the Gen Zs, we need walkability.
Yeah.
But you can't live in Omaha still without a vehicle.
No.
And that's a big problem.
Yes, it is. And we've taken it's a huge step forward with the Orbit. That's going to be opening up in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been lucky enough to be on the stakeholder committee there to really get in, because I'm just a nerd.
Neat.
I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's kind of a button that does this, and I like all that stuff.
Sure.
But it really is going to happen, and it will be a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just saying that.
Sure.
To such an extent that I think Omaha people don't even know how to imagine what this will do.
Okay.
And so that in itself is going to be a catalyst for a lot. So I'm so proud of our city for having gotten, and there's a couple of women down at Matt that actually were the ones who put in the sweat equity on the grant writing that actually beat out other cities.
Really?
These ladies deserve
awesome.
They deserve a plaque with their name on it. That we got the grant to get it started.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to change things. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I got a kick out of this new development on the river front. Again, it's sort of the same names putting their money behind it, and I think that's great. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember being consulted. When I sell down there, I sell real estate down there. I'm very involved. So not that they have to call me particularly, but there was some consultation out there, probably more than in the past. Mm-hmm. But still, it's sort of a done deal with particular powers that be and who have the money to do it.
Talking the riverfront revitalization?
Yeah, the revitalization. Okay. And that's awesome. But one of them was quoted, I was reading online, about how this will lead to more development of residential development. And I thought, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You're doing that, but at the same time, I was at the last, city council meeting where they allowed a community center to be torn down, which was a little restaurant called the Diner. They allowed that to be torn down. Yes. They allowed a franchise hotel to go there. Uh-huh. What does that favor? That doesn't favor residential.
That does not.
So we seem to be. That's so Omaha, in my opinion. We're working at cross purposes.
Sure.
And we're talking out of both sides of our mouth. Yeah. I think not just cynically, I think maybe sincerely, but if you look at the whole picture, you can't have it all. Mm-hmm. You have to choose where we're going to put our energy. And right now, that is clearly with where the millennials might want to live, work, and play, not just play for the people who live in West Omaha.
Right.
I think it's great. Mm-hmm. And the biggest complaint, of course, is downtown Omaha, anything there won't work unless it's got plenty of parking. The assumption is
mentality.
But why is that?
Well, we already have so much parking. People we do not have a parking issue downtown. We have a willingness to walk 2 blocks issue downtown.
Yes,
there's tons of parking garages. In my opinion, too much. I actually wish that they. It's kind of controversial. I wish they would level 1 or 2 parking garages, and say, tough luck. Park farther away, take the bus, maybe ride this scooter. If you want to risk your life, apparently with all the accidents that had. I hope the scooters stay.
They're gone. Yeah.
They're not coming back?
I don't think so.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's what I heard. I hope I'm wrong.
Well, you heard it here first. If that is true. I hope not.
You make a very good point. But doesn't that illustrate exactly the tensions that are built into the city, where we're making decisions about what we're going to do downtown based around how much parking can be there? Mm-hmm. Doesn't that assume then that the people who would be using those things are coming from West Omaha with a car?
Right.
And so I'm sympathetic to the West Omahans who say, I need to have a place to park. I get that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, who are we serving when we build up? If we're serving the millennials down there, that would be our highest priority, not whether a West
right.
Omaha person can park or not.
You
Besides the
can't
fact
appeal
that
to everyone.
we do have enough parking,
Ever.
but it's the
Right.
perception that there isn't enough parking that is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we're at a very interesting spot in our life as a city.
Mm-hmm.
I think it calls for some pretty courageous leadership right now. I think
Drastic.
the next
Yeah.
mayor is going to have to be willing. I think Mayor Stothard has really done a nice job of balancing the budget, which is important. We're a conservative city. That's good. I'm proud of that.
Right.
And I think the next leadership, though, is going to have to stick their neck out a little bit more and say, look, I don't treat all areas the same. This is the area that's been neglected since 1946.
Mm-hmm.
This is the area that actually needs attention now.
Right.
And we can build up the property tax base here rather than trying to get more property tax money by simply going all farther west.
I'm so glad you said that. I've been preaching this to the choir for the last
I didn't know
several
that.
months.
We're thinking the same.
The problem, so if you look at our city right now, Omaha's expanding west and west and west. They're saying that Ashland is even now a good investment place to buy a home because it's in the middle of Omaha and Lincoln.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. Ashland's a nice community.
It
and
is.
It can grow. That's cool.
But as we continue to expand west and south, Sarpy County is exploding too.
Yeah.
The further we expand, it's a lot of money to do so. There's lane miles you have to build.
Infrastructure.
All the infrastructure. I was just going to say that word.
Emergency services.
Emergency services, garbage, power lines, sewers.
Okay, a funny story on that. At 72nd and Cass, do you know why I have such great water pressure?
No.
I found this out. And I actually have to have something on my water main to control the pressure. Because if I left it full pressure, I blow out all my faucets.
Interesting.
So the reason is because they have to have extra pressure this far east in order to push the water out farther west.
Weird.
Fascinating to think about. That is just another element of where if we can I get it, we got to have property tax. But what if we found it in a different way? What if we re-envisioned that?
That's exactly where I was going. As we continue to expand suburbia, call it what it is, it's more strip malls or more big box, Home Depots, Lowe's, Walmarts. And
is that Omaha?
That's like a 5 tenant, like per square acre or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's a handful of tenants paying the property taxes on a big area.
Yeah.
And people come. I don't understand the logic behind people not wanting density. It creates connectivity. And the biggest issue in our state right now is property taxes. If you have more people per square mile, per square acre, however they measure it, that's more people contributing to the property taxes, which then can help our farmers and can help the people who are buying homes, can help their taxes
Not
lower.
to mention sustainability,
it's
oil consumption, loneliness. How about just loneliness?
Seriously.
It's a big problem in the suburbs. Elderly who lose their cars.
Yeah.
They're stranded. Or how about young people who, in order to connect with other young people, they have to drive as soon as they're possibly able to drive.
Right.
But they're not they may drive, but they may not drive well.
Yeah, they're legally allowed to drive, but they
and
shouldn't drive.
sadly deaths in the suburbs every year because of that.
Right.
And I'm just like, gosh. And I'm sitting, like my house, for example, sits on almost a quarter acre.
I know.
My little tiny 900 square foot house.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge lot.
It is a
big
lot.
like a total waste in a way. I think plus I don't like mowing it every week. But that's an example. It's not efficient. But we can re-envision so many of these things. We can do this with good leadership. So I don't know. I say Colin for mayor.
One day. Maybe Omaha Chamber first.
Me too. I have not joined the chamber. I'm embarrassed to say that.
Still haven't?
This year.
When I first met you, I said you need to based on everything.
But I said 2020.
Okay, that's fair. It is 2020.
I saving up my money because it's not cheap to join the chamber. So.
But no, ironically, pun intended, Omaha I think is at a crossroads. I think we are going to either do the right things over the next decade, or we're going to kind of fall behind and not become a modern city. Whether that means better transportation or whether that means a smart city, whatever becoming a new modern city means, we're either going to attract a lot more people here, or I think we're going to lose a lot of people.
It is. I think I agree. Even at the recession, there was a great article in the New York Times doing some studies about which cities were really going to survive after the recession and which ones weren't.
Interesting.
And they said the one factor they felt that was most important was what percentage of the population has a college degree. So fascinating, right? So there was a city in Ohio that they use as an example of one that probably won't make it. I'm not going to say the name. We'll see how it does.
Yeah,
we'll see how it does.
Don't hurt.
But it was a city kind of like the same size as Omaha, and it was like really made me nervous to be able to study that situation. Whereas I think Omaha is very diversified economically, and we did make the cut. We've got about, I think it's about 30% college educated citizenry, which is relatively high.
Only 30% of citizens have a college degree.
Yeah.
You think that's high?
It is statistically very high compared to other cities.
Weird.
Yeah, the New York Times call it a differentiating factor between what kind of future that city could have, and we're right on the borderline. The minimum was like 30%. We're right at 30.
So yeah, we're on the cusp.
I think everything points to the fact that we are at a very important juncture for our city, and it's not too late. It's certainly not too late.
Right.
I went to a conference in Dallas, a Keller Williams conference, and I met Keller Williams agent in Rhode Island, who's very interested in investing in Omaha and wants to know about big buildings that they can buy, convert, do things with.
Cool.
And so
that's promising to hear.
It is very promising. So what it says is that Omaha hasn't gotten so far overdeveloped or whatever down that road that it can't make adjustments now. So this is where, everything I say does have a sense of urgency, like you said.
Sure.
There's something urgent about the decisions we're making right now as a city.
There are. So we talked about a lot of future things and current developments happening around town. What is your favorite thing currently about Omaha? What keeps you here?
My favorite thing currently, because I think it's a huge catalyst for change that people are underestimating, is Orbit, Omaha Rapid Bus Transit.
Yeah.
That's going to change. That's going to change the game for people. They're going to really take another look at their own city and go, what? Because the first adopters are going to be the people who aren't even from Omaha. They're going to look at that and go, holy cow, I'm using that.
You think
Absolutely. So? That's what happens everywhere I've lived.
Yeah.
Is the first adopters are always people that weren't from there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think what it needs to be successful is to obviously expand. Obviously it's just starting out, but I think clearly need to have one that goes north and south as well as east and west.
Yeah.
To really connect the city. But I look at it in the future as I use Chicago as my example as always because that's what I'm most familiar with. But as we'll have an orange line or have a green line that runs from different parts of the city, and there'll be interchanges where you can connect to the other color orbit bus, and then that'll take you like downtown. I think it is really exciting.
Yeah, I agree with you. The other neat thing is, and along the same lines, is we have 24 miles worth of bike trails in the city. Not many cities have that.
Okay.
Not many cities have those bike trails that we have. The Keystone Trail.
Oh! I thought you were saying lane miles, like around on the road. You're talking trail. Okay.
Trails through the city.
Got it. That is a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Interesting.
That's a really amazing feature of Omaha.
Do you use that?
I do.
Okay.
I use it probably every week.
Oh, nice.
So, not practically. I can use it to ride my bike down to Exarban Village.
Sure.
But I did one day. I tried a practical application of the trail.
Did you?
So I met someone for coffee down at Exarban Village. Then I had lunch in Benson. So I rode it up as far as I could from Exarban Village, which is pretty far. You can get up to Maple.
Okay.
Yeah, you get as far as Maple. And then you go east on Maple. So there was a bit of an urban situation there going on Maple to 60th.
Right.
But still.
But you survived, didn't get hit.
It was cool. I went from my coffee in the morning with a friend to lunch with a friend in Benson.
How long did that take?
All on my bike. It took about a half an hour to go from there to there. But that was so thrilling to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I could see that tasting the future of Omaha. If we really wish to try to apply it, we need people who are willing to jump in and give it a shot.
Yeah. We need to be more comfortable with the idea of, that's 15 minutes walking or 3 minutes, 5 minutes driving. Well, let's walk. Let's take the healthier option, the greener option.
I agree. And then when you get there,
that comes along with that.
Do you need to worry about parking when you get there?
No, you don't.
No, and that's, that is the major component of every major big city that I've lived in. Is it's great that you can go down to downtown Boston and you can drive your car down. You sure can.
Right.
It takes you 10 minutes to get to downtown Boston and 15 to 20 minutes to actually find a parking space.
Exactly.
So,
and when you do find
it, it costs.
It's more expensive. Yeah. I wish that Omaha's downtown parking was more expensive also. I laughed when I did go, when I was living in Chicago.
Yes.
I saw $40 at some place for, I think it was 40 minutes.
Right.
or it was like less than an hour for
Right.
$40, and then here you can get like $1.25 for a whole hour. Downtown.
I got a
just
ticket
thought
the other day. It
hilarious.
was $10. It was worth it.
Oh yeah, it is worth it.
I mean, it was almost like, oh, only $10
Right.
compared to
I
Washington D.C.
One of my friends, I found out her boyfriend just moved in with her downtown, and instead of paying for the garage parking in their apartment, he's like, it's cheaper to just get a ticket twice a month than
Right.
pay for
if it's an unlucky month, maybe
Right.
you have a lucky month, you won't have a single ticket.
Exactly.
Right. No, I mean, this is the sort of things that we need to grapple with, and I really want to encourage the millennials out there who see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We need your help and to jump in.
Right.
And the baby boomers too, who we have a lot of great support from the boomers who really see. I'm Gen X, kind of in between.
Sure.
But the boomers, I see them really, some great boomers that really support a lot of this. And
like you said, they want to move out of their big house because kids are off to college. I mean, they don't need that house. Maybe their mobility is less and not as good anymore. So it makes sense they're going to be relocating to denser areas too.
Yeah. No, we all need to jump in on this. And we have a great future ahead of us, but we've got goals. We definitely have goals we haven't accomplished yet. But let's keep our eyes on the prize. Let's not get distracted. Let's not give up. Also, let's not let developers who need direction either give up or only do things that are convenient for them but aren't really in the best interests of the city. I'm not condemning them. I'm just saying I wouldn't condemn a developer who wants to spend money on a central part of the city. I think thank you. But let's make sure that we have a plan so that there's maybe a developer only wants to do $400,000 and up. Okay, but let's just make sure we have a plan that allows for something around $200,000. You don't have to just say he's the worst person in the world, like some people are saying, but say, okay, thank you, and here's a plan that you can fit into.
It needs to be the redevelopments and the developments need to be more inclusive across the board. I think is what you're touching on.
There should be homes for everyone who wants to spend $400,000 or someone who wants or only can spend $100,000.
I agree.
What's wrong with that? And
Nothing.
they can be equally educated. The fact that someone's spending $400 doesn't mean they have any better education necessarily than someone who can or only wants to spend $100.
Especially with the wave of minimalism.
Yep.
I'm sure you've heard of that.
Yep.
And financial minimalism too.
Yep.
You said the first people to use Orbit, in your opinion, will be people from other cities or who aren't originally from Omaha. So I always wrap up with one final question. What would attract someone from an LA, a New York, a Chicago to Omaha?
Cost of living. Cost of living is the first thing, and then the ability to have arts and things. And now with the new transportation, that's going to add a lot to that decision.
Sure.
I think for people.
Transportation connects everything together.
It's going to I think it's definitely going to influence people's decision. The fact that Orbit is there. If they live in downtown and they work at UNO or UNMC, the fact that they can take that will definitely, there will be a definitely contribution to our growth. So excited. It's spring now. It's going to be in the spring. Promise.
It's a little bit behind schedule, but
it is. But that was a contractor type thing that we ran into that was not anticipated. The canopies are all ready to be. They're ready. They're done in Kansas City. They're being made there.
Nice.
They're ready. The canopies are ready, and if you can see on the north side of Dodge Street, almost all of those stations, all of those stations are done.
Yeah.
The concrete is curing as we speak in the sun. Okay, and the next will be
kind of the sun.
Whatever we get.
Who wanted it to be done in winter anyway? I mean,
I was impressed that those guys were working out there in the coldest days. They were pushing forward on it. I was really grateful for that.
That kind of sums it up perfectly. There are a lot of people like yourself, and thank you for being one of them, that are trying to get behind growth and just the future potential of our city. Yeah. And thank you for being one of them, Marty. Thank you for being on this. I've really much enjoyed our conversations. It just comes naturally because I'm passionate about Omaha. I don't want the city to lose people, and I don't want the city to lose me. I think that Omaha has not just great potential, it's great already, but I think moving forward in the future, we are, like I said, at a crossroads where some major things are happening. We just need to make sure that they're happening for the right reasons and in the right way. And you're going to be coming along for that journey.
I'm with you.
You'll be a part of those
I'll
changes.
stay if you'll stay, Colin.
I'll be here.
Thank you. Let's keep talking. Let's keep the conversation going.
Yes, seriously. If anyone else wants to talk about Omaha, reach out and get in contact with Marty too. we can talk forever.
Please, just
about the
I'm
changes
always
to the
down
city.
for a cup of coffee.
Mhm.
No, but I do really have to get back to work.
Thank you guys for watching.
So, thanks.
Bye-bye.